everyone, and welcome to this on-demand webinar, How to Build a Healthier and Safer Education Environment, Overcoming Today's Top School Safety Challenges. My name is Lexi. I am the Education Marketing Manager at Motorola Solutions, and I am joined today by Rick Cadiz, the VP of Sales and Marketing at IP Video, a Motorola Solutions company. Welcome, Rick.
Thanks, Lexi.
Of course. So, wanted to kick it off today by talking through some of the most common safety challenges that we're seeing when it comes to school safety and security today. Rick, in your role, you're talking to a lot of different schools all the time. What are some common safety challenges that you see across the board?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, obviously, because we're involved in the vaping drug issues, student health is first and foremost. So we hear about cyberbullying in schools, we hear about student mental health, and just health in general, especially coming off of COVID. So that's always top of mind with the districts that we meet with. So another issue that we come up against is obviously medical emergencies, because we're in crisis situations, emergency communication, medical emergencies in schools is always a hot topic. And especially when you're dealing in the vaping areas where, black market vaping, vape devices have drugs, illicit drugs inside them, and that the students don't know about. It creates a number of issues. And then lastly, another big challenge is school threats, obviously with the school shootings. And that's always first and foremost. When parents send their kids to school, they want to make sure that they're going to be safe, first and foremost, before anything. And it's just so prevalent in our society that's obviously top of mind when it comes to security conversations.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I know you have some solutions for schools struggling with these type of topics. So could you tell us a little bit about the work you're doing to help schools stay a safe and healthy environment for their students and staff?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so our main product is something called the Halo Smart Sensor. And when you talk to kids, like if you ask them what's their scariest area within schools, probably 99 out of 100 are going to say either the bathroom or the locker room. And why that is because obviously you can't put a camera into those devices because they're areas of privacy. So they tend to be where, the bullying happens and fights and vaping and drug use. So one of the things that we tried to do as a company 8 years ago was when we were looking to develop a product to solve that safety issue. How do you provide, get security into those areas of privacy without having a camera, without recording audio? So we developed a sensor product called Halo Smart Sensor, which basically uses 16 different sensors that are using things that would represent the other senses. You can't use sight, so we're using smell, we're using hearing, even though we're not recording, we're tracking decibel levels. And all of these different features can go into these privacy areas and then send communication alerts. So when you talk about Halo, we have 3 different areas that we focus on. We focus on health, we focus on safety, and then we focus on vaping. Vape detection, drug detection. On the safety aspect, we have emergency keywords and gunshot detection, and we can pick up fights and loud noises. And it has panic buttons and emergency help words. And then on the health, this was big when, especially around COVID, there was such a focus on air quality in schools that we're now measuring the actual air particles and how healthy the air is. And on all those different devices, we could send out alerts and communicate with their building systems and their security systems and go right to security and first responders when an issue does happen. So one of the big things is, especially when you talk to schools, we're in over 6,000 schools in the US that are using our products and being very successful with it. And always a topic is where the school is going to get the money for these purchases. The product isn't inexpensive. It's a computer that's in the ceiling. So there needs to be that investment. So a lot of the schools, we help the schools go out for air quality and health grants. They can use safety grants. And then there's also a lot of vaping and smoking and drug prevention grants that the schools can leverage also for these purchases. So.
Awesome. That's great that there are grants out there for these type of products. And thanks for that insight. It's great to see such a powerful tool available for schools. Could you tell us a little bit about how Halo actually works in a real school environment?
Yeah, so I'll talk to real examples. So Aaron in Iowa, the school district North Scott, they had about 20 different EMS ambulances come to the school for children that were having seizures in restrooms and locker rooms, and they believed that it was a result of the vaping. But they weren't able to prove it, but they went ahead and the district invested the money and made sure that they got the vape detectors put in. And then once that the alerts started happening on vape detection, the ambulance calls stopped. So they have a direct correlation that they know that students were reacting negatively to, black market devices that were out there, or high levels of THC that the students weren't able to handle. But this was a great story where we were able to, within a matter of weeks, we're able to stop that problem, and they addressed the health concern that they had with their students.
Wow.
So another one was in Florence, South Carolina. So a lot of schools, when they start, they'll start with pilots. So they'll try the technology, make sure that it's working before they make a big investment. In this school in South Carolina, they did that model. They tried it out in a few bathrooms, and then they watched the number of vape alerts that went through the roof. And then once they put it in and they started the discipline policies, it dropped off dramatically, and they were able to see the vaping go to zero. So they had so much success that, the next month they went district wide and wanted it to be in all of their schools.
That's great.
So, and then we've had a lot of instances when it comes to student and staff health and safety, and we've had a few of these. So again, this is your eyes where you can't have a camera. So where a vape alert went off at a school in New Mexico, the security staff went to go investigate the vaping, and then actually found a student with a loaded weapon on their possession within the school bathroom. They were able to intervene and stop whatever the student had in mind with that weapon before anything was able to happen. So that was great. Just as a result of an alert, they were able to prevent something more severe from occurring. We had a situation with a school in South Carolina where a student, a female student, was actually dying. She had so much, they said fentanyl, but so much drugs in the system from the vape pen that they were flatlining. And because of the vape alert from our device, security staff was able to get in there quickly and administer Narcan and save her life. So that was amazing. And when I heard the head of security from that district speak, he had tears in his eyes. So it was really, it touched home. Then we had a staff member who was actually having a medical emergency in the female bathroom, and called out. We have an emergency keyword in the device where you can call for help. They used that in the restroom. It went to the school principal, and they were able to send staff in to investigate and get that teacher to the hospital, and they saved her life as well. And again, this was just from calling out the keyword for the bathroom device. And then there's the air quality pieces. So we had a situation in the school district in Illinois that all of a sudden, once they installed the halos in classrooms, they were getting all sorts of CO, carbon monoxide alerts, and they had no idea what it was. And then upon investigation, they found out that their school buses every morning for an hour would idle outside the classroom windows. And in the beginning of the semester, because it was warm, they would leave the windows open. But what was happening, and they had done it for 7 years, that the levels of carbon monoxide from the school bus exhaust was so high that it was actually poisoning levels for the students. So soon as the district found out about that this was going on, they moved the school buses to the other side of the street, and they stopped the problem immediately. And this was one that it would have continued to go on, and they didn't know the health impacts that it was creating for the students. And then on the flip side, we had an issue in New York where the teachers thought they were getting sick from construction. And then utilizing the data from our devices, we were able to help prove that the air quality was clear, was fine. There's no issues for the staff. And they were able to determine that it was from a roof tar. They were repaving a roof, and I guess the wind had blown some of that smell in, which was offensive for the teachers. And that's, they were creating a situation where they were getting sick, but the air quality was fine. So it could be used in many different ways, depending on the district's example. But really what it's doing is it's giving you, you're allowed to see the unseen, you know, if you're a school district with a device. So people are using it in all sorts of different ways.
Wow. Yeah, some really compelling stories there. It's cool to see it working in all different ways. So, and it's great to see the success that Halo has when it comes to some serious school challenges. With those success stories, what are some of the other impacts you're seeing throughout school campuses after the implementation of Halo?
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, it's a big investment, right? So one of the things that we always tell people, we're going to try to help you clear the problem up within 2 weeks, but it's going to take the school district to implement and stay on top of their policies and their discipline or their education programs. It needs to tie together, because if you just have the alerts and don't do anything about them, you're not going to fix the problem. And our goal is to fix the vaping and drug use problem, and then you can continue to use your investment as a security device ongoing for bathroom bullying and fights and just regular safety. But you'll see what happens. So what I've done here is I've included a couple real districts. So a survey came out, not for this school year, that said that vaping was down year over year. And we're looking at the data. So we've got data from across the country, and we are comparing this year's school data to last year's school data. And I would probably argue that survey that said student vaping is down is not accurate, because it was a self-survey done by students who were providing that information. But our real data of 6,000 schools across the country is showing that the vaping problem at the start of this school year was just as bad, if not worse, as last school year. And here's one example. So you'll see the flat line at this school district. This was in August 4th, 11th, 18th. It was flat. There was the school wasn't in session. You could see as soon as the schools came back, it jumped up to 14,000 vaping events, just in 1 week's time period of the first week of school. And because they're not policing it and they're not putting in their policies for the students, it's continuing throughout the school year. So this shows you that, yes, vaping is still prevalent as ever. And if you don't do anything about it, you ignore it, it's going to continue. So this is a district that should do something about it. So if you go to the next one, here is a different school district in the same time frame. School starts, vaping is through the roof as it was last year, but then they start. So what will happen is they'll discipline one student and make them do educational training and programs. The word gets out to all the other students, and then you'll see it decline. So over 3 weeks, the school district had to go down to relatively few vaping incidents. You know, usually after a holiday break, kids will come back and forget and get caught again. That's your peak. But as long as they put the policies in place, they can stop the problem. And, you know, that's the success that we see when they institute the smart sensors.
Wow.
You know, and again, this last one, same kind of thing. So it was this school district installed the devices, but didn't tell anyone and didn't institute any policies. They let it run. And then from the September 1st to this September 8th week, that's when all the kids were back in school, went through the roof on vaping incidents. And then they started instituting the policies and you know, enforcing the no vape policy with the students. And you could see the tremendous drop off once some kids were getting either disciplined or being forced to do educational programs. And they were able to save that. And now this district has hardly any vaping incidents, and now they're using it for safety, air quality, and security.
Wow. Yeah, those numbers are really telling. It's cool to see the impact. Awesome. Well, with that, thank you, Rick, so much. We're going to close out this webinar, but wanted to thank Rick for speaking on some important school safety topics today, a super valuable discussion. And thank you to all the viewers who joined. If you have any questions about Halo or Motorola's safety and security ecosystem in general, don't hesitate to reach out. We appreciate your time. Bye, everyone.